Welcome to the exercises. Now I have this particular sketch with me, or the geometry exercise to practice right now, and in this particular exercise you can see that there is a supporting member which is created using the profile rib option in Creo Parametric. So let us try to work on this, and before starting or before initiating the creation of this model, I advise you to analyze the geometry at first. So let us analyze, and you can see that it is having a total width of 35 plus 40 units and the height of 66 units. So we have a supporting member over here. It is having its own dimensions. The geometry is having certain depth, and that is equal to 30 units. And the thickness of the geometry is not mentioned in this particular region. So we have to look at some other place, and it is mentioned over here. So the thickness is uniform, and that is equal to 8 units. So apart from that, we also have an extruded feature over here which is having a through hole, and there is dimension given to us for the height of the particular extruded feature and the location of the center of that circle, that is equal to 25 units from this edge. The hole is having the diameter of 14 units, that is 14 units. So let us start working on it. And for this particular feature, I will be using the feature based modeling technique. So what I will be doing is, I will be creating the first particular base, and I will be creating this section. That will be my second step, and followed by the third section, which is the horizontal section. And after that, I'll be adding a supporting member. Then finally, I'll be creating this extruded region and creating a hole on it. So we can also try to work with a process of creating a total block of say 66 into 75 units with a depth of 30 units, and we can try to remove the material on this particular region and this particular region. But in this particular technique, there is huge amount of wastage in the material. So we will try to use the technique which I mentioned in the starting. So let us create from the front view, and I will be choosing this particular view as the front view. So at first, let me create a base which is of 35 units, and the depth is 30 and the thickness is 8 units. So let me click on corner rectangle, and I can start at any particular position. Say I want to start over here, and change the dimensions to 35. So the thickness of this particular base is 8 units, which can be seen over here. So I'll double click on 40 and change it to 8, and let me just zoom it. So I have the figure with me. Now let me extrude it. On the other side, if I'm wanting, I can try to keep symmetry because it is useful for future creation, that is for the rib and the extrude feature on the top. So I have the depth or the extrusion to be 30 units. So it is 15 on each side because it is a symmetry, and let me press OK. So I have created the base right now, after which I have to create the vertical member, and for that I will be selecting this central plane, and I will be going to the extrude option and aligning my view. So I have this geometry ready with me. I have to create the particular vertical member on the right side. Just be careful with this. Do not try to create on the surface, because if you can zoom and see over here, the vertical surface or the vertical member is on the right hand side of the base. It is not on the base. So please be a little careful in this particular method. So the good option is to try to create a reference first, which will help us to align our geometry. Close the references. So we have the references on the screen. Let us utilize the rectangle option again and create a vertical member of random dimensions. As the thickness is constant, change it to 8 units, and let us see what is the height. The height from the base is 66 units. So let me change it to 66 and press OK. Change the direction to be symmetric and the units to be 30 and press Ctrl D. Press OK. So we have the vertical member ready right now. Now let me work on this horizontal surface, and for this let me click on the central plane again and click on extrude. Now you can see over here that this particular surface, the horizontal surface, which is situated at a location of 66 units from the top. So while creating this particular vertical member, we have seen that the height of this surface was 66 from the base. That means whatever surface we are going to create it, we need not create over it, but we have to create below it, right? And the distance from this particular edge is not mentioned over here. The distance is mentioned from this particular edge, the outer edge. So we have to see that the distance 40 is from the outer edge. So in this particular case, what we can do is we can try to create the sketch from this corner itself. And we can keep the distance to be 40. Or else you can try to create from this particular surface and you can subtract 40 minus 8 because this thickness is 8 units. So anything is okay. Change the thickness to 8 units and press OK. Change it to symmetry and enter the dimensions of the extrusion. So I have this member ready right now. Now the next option is to create a vertical rib over here. So the way the rib is created in the central plane, we can click on the extrude command and try to create the rib right now. So you can see the dimensions of the rib. I have mentioned you that for creating a rib, we require a single line command and we have to select both the surfaces as follows. Now we have to change the dimensions of both the points from the corner point. So you can see over here that this distance, the vertical distance is 42 units. So let me click on dimensions, select the outer point, click on the base and click over here to get the dimensions. And by default it was 32 units. Let me change it to 42. So when I'm changing the units to 42, you can see that this dimension has also changed. Now let me try to change it and see whether it is constrained or it is not constrained. So let me just try to click on the dimension and change it to 23 units. So I have the dimensions ready with me, the vertical and the horizontal. Now I can press OK. And by default you can see there is no material added. The reason is because the extrusion length is quite larger. I mean the extrusion length of the rib should be in the limits of the main geometry. So you can see the moment I have brought in the particular feature inside the main geometry's limits, there is a material which is visible to us. Now you can stop at any particular location and change the thickness according to the geometry given to us. So the thickness over here is 6 units. So I'll be changing the thickness to 6 units, and I have also one more thing left, and that is changing the position and keeping it symmetric. Now I'm satisfied with this particular rib. I can press OK. So I have this particular rib ready with me right now. The final feature to be created is the extrusion over here, and which is very simple. We can directly click on extrude, select the surface on which we want to create, align the view. Now things are looking a little complicated right now, so you can just try to change the shading to hidden line. So I can see the top view over here. Let me click on circle, and from the center I'm not finding any reference line over here, so let me click on references, create a vertical line or horizontal line, click on the circle command, create a circle at random location. Now I have to ensure that the distance or the location of circle is appropriate. So in the geometry, if I'm analyzing over here, I can see that the distance from the central axis of the circle to the edge of the top surface is 25 units. So I have to change this particular location, or I have to change the dimensioning with respect to the references. So by default, the references is with respect to this particular axis. So I can click on dimensions, I can click on the center, and I can click on this particular edge. Let me go back to the sketch view, select this particular edge and press OK. Now let me change the units to be 25, and I can press Ctrl D. I have the geometry aligned with respect to this particular edge, and that is equal to 25 units. And now I have to change the diameter. The diameter given to me is 22 units. So I have to ensure again that this is the diameter, not the radius. Press OK to generate the extruded feature. Change the shading and also change the extrusion length, which is equal to 12 units in this case. Now press OK. So the final thing which is left to us is to create a hole of 14 diameter, and this hole is a through hole. So I can create a extrude command, and I can remove the material from the center of this particular feature. So as I'm hovering over here, I'm getting a central point. I can create a circle from there and change the diameter of the circle. By default it is radius. Let me click on it and change it to diameter, which is equal to 14 units. Now let me press OK and change the direction. The remove material is automatically activated in Creo 6.0. Now I have not mentioned in the figure, it is not mentioned that the particular hole is having certain depth. It is clearly mentioned over here that the hole is a through hole. That means it has to intersect all the surfaces. So I can directly click on this particular option, that is up to the surface or up to the next surface, and this is looking good. Let me press OK or middle click, and let me align the view to default view, and that is the completion of the given geometry. So you can see that the figure is created right now. We have also learned the procedure for creating a rib. Let us move to the next exercise.